Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the pilot episode of the High Life Reel. My name is Bill Rom.
I'm Josh Shapiro.
And this is our special guest, Sam Riva.
Hey guys.
He's with us today so that we can go over our main topic of the day called the headliner. So the headliner in today's sports is Italy missing the World Cup for the first time in 60 years. Now Sam is Italian by birth. He's here studying sports law. Trying to prep for a career, and he's also our soccer expert. So we wanted to bring him in so he could talk a little bit about this whole thing. So, Sam, what were your first thoughts when you were watching the game and you recognized what was going to happen?
A disaster. That was an apocalypse, and it's not just as a soccer fan in general. It's just like a nation that comes together, like unifies around soccer, and just watching, the game and seeing Italy not making it to the World Cup, it was just like, a slowly disaster that was taking place. And again, it's not just like I said, like the failure of the player. It's a failure of a new generation of players that didn't catch up after the World Cup in 2006, after such a brilliant performance, beating France in the final. You go into the 2010 World Cup, don't make the qualifying stage. And that was already shaky. 2014 in Brazil, and again over there, the very disappointing performance. And then you have so much expectation on this new team and these new young talents. They're supposed to do so great, and this happens. They don't even make the World Cup, and it's just very disappointing, especially against an opponent like Sweden that was very beatable.
This sounds strangely like what's happening right now with U.S. soccer. U.S. soccer here in America, obviously everybody talks about their development, what's going on with the team, what people are doing, how we're developing players from a young level all the way up. What are some of the underlying issues that Italy had that got them to this point? I feel like as bad as this is for U.S. soccer,
It's 10 times worse.
it as a nation, it feels worse for Italy.
Definitely feels worse, especially for the tradition that Italy has. I think, look at there's a thing here. There's a current team that is going on. If you look at the failure of France and the failure of Germany back in the days, back in the 90s, what did they do? They realized that something was going on, and they're like, okay, now we got to do a radical change at the grassroots level and bring something to the plate that's going to make us step up. And they started implementing federal facilities. In France, there were over 300 facilities. Okay. And Germany the same. Facilities, reforms. They ask teams in the Bundesliga in the second division to actually have mandatory youth team starting from 12. So every category, 12, 13 mandatory teams.
And that doesn't already exist in Italy?
It does, but they basically they started a program that forced even more the growth from the bottom. So in Italy, the problem is there are everything is in place. It's just right now there's demand for more. There's a demand for more talents. There's a demand for more quality coming from the bottom, or also for the league itself. If you look at Italy right now, only Juventus in the past 4 or 5 years is doing pretty well in Europe. Other than that, Milan, Inter, all these teams are falling off.
Josh, did you play soccer?
A couple of years. Well, very good.
No?
No.
And I know you obviously played a lot of soccer.
You played college ball.
And I played soccer when I was up until probably middle school here. And it seems like we have soccer from the time we're young all the way through. We already have young kids playing soccer. There's tons of people who are playing soccer. Soccer is this massive sport. Yet, we're not getting better at soccer. And comparably, we're getting worse at soccer. It's missing a World Cup. Italy missing a World Cup for the first time in 60 years. To think you're already putting so much is committed to it, what's the real heart of it? And I don't know the answer, and I don't know why. I know here in America it's because the best athletes go to other sports, but I don't know if that's the case in Italy.
In Italy, yeah, definitely it's not the case in that sense. Obviously, soccer is the most played sport. I think, listen, every time you can point a finger at something specific, there's always a very, different factors that come into play. Like if you look at the coach and his decision in the games and so there's a lot of components. This player, coaches, again, it's really hard to put something on. The real thing is if you by stats, by looking at the players, by looking at the value of the team. If you take that 2006 team with Totti, Del Piero, Pirlo, the quality of those players is just not there. And obviously,
why do you think that is?
It's I think that the league itself is going down. The Serie A is going down, and all these players look at Verratti went to play for PSG, and so many other players are going away. They're not playing the Italian league anymore. They're missing an identity.
Okay.
The identity of this new generation is just not there.
I mean, it could be like a natural cycle, just like any sport, any dynasty, and eventually it has to come down.
Yeah.
And the New England Patriots are not going to have Tom Brady and Bill Belichick for the next 150 years.
Yeah.
So it's eventually we're going to say the Patriots aren't going to win the AFC East. It's just.
So do we think that's what this is? Do you think this is maybe just a blip in the road, and there's a small period of time where as in America, this seems like this isn't just a blip in the road.
Problem.
This is a systemic issue. Do you think this for Italy is more a temporary issue with an easier solution, or do you think that there's a lot that needs to be done?
I think there's a lot to be done, but I also think that can be a very an easy fix.
Okay.
And again, I keep in mind the example of Germany and the example of France. France didn't qualify in '94. And then after that rebuilding process that took place in the late 80s, beginning of the early 90s, then they were able to make it to the final in '98 and have talents like Henry, Trezeguet. So to me, if something is in place, if you're forcing England, okay, this is our league, okay, we're going to have mandatory 12 English players per team. Okay. Something like that, you see, you're forcing the Italian talents to be there, the teams to have these players, to grow with them, to create an identity. And I think by doing that in such a short period of time, I'm not saying they're going to be able to, win the World Cup the next round, in 2022. I'm not saying that. But at least be competitive again and not put up such a very disappointing performance against Sweden.
That's the tough thing, though. It's also every 4 years. So, as any other sport, football, baseball, you're all right, we got it next year. A rebuilding process is maybe 2-3 years down the line. You have to wait 4 years just to think about this. It's sitting there for 4 years waiting all right, it's our time to go again. That's tough.
And I also think that's why it ends up being so shocking from a developmental standpoint is that the same way that once you fail in a regular season, you get to come back the following year and compete. In international competition, you can see that you have problems for years, and you have time to fix them as well.
Yeah.
And when you're a nation that's with so many countries that make it into the World Cup, to be a soccer powerhouse like Italy has been in the past, to then ultimately not even make it to the World Cup, that there are all these teams that are better than them currently, it still feels shocking because no matter what, they should have been able to come through. Same with U.S. soccer. Even with all the problems that U.S. soccer has, with a nation that has 400 million people and has all the resources that we have from a sports standpoint, we should be able to compete and at least make it into the World Cup. Maybe we get knocked out early. Maybe we don't advance very far. But to not even make it, to me, is rough.